Recording is beginning now. Okay. The one quick ground rule is that this is just for the shelter exercise. If you have something that pertains to an organization in particular, such as the Red Cross, ARES, Auxcom, whatever, address that with that group separately. So at the end, John, I'm sure we'll have some extra comments and all. And I am going to pass that over to John, and it's all yours, John.
Okay, thanks very much, Jack. And I want to thank Jack for setting this up or using his Zoom account to do this meeting. And I appreciate the number of people who are participating in this. This is an informational meeting, and I know some of you have been hearing bits and pieces of this. And basically, what it is, it's a Red Cross drill, but they're not really per se participating. Okay, and I know that sounds kind of funny, but this was developed, okay, from a couple of Red Cross members who are amateurs, and this thing kind of snowballed. So you're gonna have to forgive us as far as it's still in the planning stages. There's still people that are working on this, so it's kind of a as you go type situation. So we'll be having another Zoom meeting next week to finalize everything so that everybody understands what's going on and what roles to play and what have you. So what I like to do, Steve Camp, excuse me, let me see if Ed Gibbs, are you on board? Okay, he hasn't showed up yet. But what I like to do is turn over to first Steve and let him discuss about the mechanics behind this exercise. And he's with the Red Cross. And so I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Steve and just give us an idea about what this exercise is all about. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you, Jack, for putting this together. I came across this recently through a ARL announcement in their e-letter that was forwarded to me by Jim Merritt, the Region 1 lead, whatever, within ARES. And I poked around with Red Cross to see who was involved in it and who wasn't. And not much was being handled locally. So I went ahead and inquired further and got tagged with the responsibility of being Virginia lead. And this was without the Virginia organization's blessing, which has since been granted. Red Cross has a relationship with ARES in Virginia. Both parties are very interested in carrying that further. This exercise is an event that ought to lead to a better understanding of each other's capabilities, and will ultimately lead to a follow-on event that will be even more detailed. The concept as it is being laid out is for Part A and Part B, a morning and afternoon session, with Part A being a voice net arranged locally, and it should operate within the organizational structures that many of you have in place already. And it should be focused and tailored to that organization. If you have a functioning organization, there's no one interested in coming in and telling you how to do it better. The Part B part, however, is a WinLink exercise, and that is really Red Cross driven, and the idea is to be able to use WinLink forms to provide information, written character information between organizations when the ARES radio operator is really the communications resource of last resort. So we're really excited about this. I think it ought to be a lot of fun for everyone. I think it will provide an opportunity for me to learn a lot about your organization. And my apologies for any of you that I haven't reached out to directly. I'm having some communication, excuse me, some email issues right now that have caused me to lose a chunk of responses that came in from your registrations. You may end up having to reach out again. It would be really appreciated. But I think the Aries lead would be the best way for this whole exercise to run. You have an established organization, and Red Cross will try and add a little bit of realism to it. Vinny Poto out of Williamsburg will be participating in this as well. I think he's on the call. And, you know, if you can work with us as best you can, we'd really appreciate it. We'll do the same. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me.
John, I'm here, by the way.
Okay. What I'd like to do is also turn over to Greg Butler, who's doing the WinLink portion of this. And Greg, can you come on board and describe a little bit what the WinLink session is going to be like, please?
Sure. Thank you, John. Although I'm still waiting for the final version of the exercise plan.
Hurry up. Come on. Damn it. God damn it, Matthew. You always. Hurry up.
I'm still awaiting the final version of the exercise plan, although I have seen a draft and supplied some comments back to the leadership team for some suggestions on how to make things a little more standardized, some things that were in the plan that weren't common for the way we would practice in an amateur exercise. However, I have been asked to be the divisional clearinghouse for the Central Atlantic Division of the Red Cross. And in that role, the way I understand it, the people who volunteer to operate out in the field simulating a shelter setup will be asked to send WinLink forms that are specific to Red Cross to me. And at that point, I'm supposed to take a percentage of those and convert the forms to PDFs, and then using commercial email, send those to leadership, a tactical address that the leadership for the Red Cross participants in this exercise will be using. And then I believe at the end of the exercise, I'm supposed to kind of do a roll up and summarize, you know, I got 50 total messages and 35 of them were filled out perfectly. You know, others had some problems, that kind of thing. So I will be involved on a phone call or a Zoom or Microsoft Teams meeting later this week, that there might be additional information disseminated. But that's what I know at this point. So I'll be, and of course, because of the timing of the exercise, the time of day, it's, you know, about the worst time for HF. So I don't anticipate doing any peer-to-peer operation. So what I'll probably be doing is checking through a gateway, whether it's VHF or HF, probably VHF since I've got a couple easily available to me. Probably every 15 or 20 minutes during that time period, maybe more often, and collecting messages and taking my actions and pushing them up the stream. So that's what I know at this point, John.
Okay, thanks very much, Greg. The idea, this is to be like what Steve says, a real fun operation to where people, you know, work as a group as far as getting messages from one point to another. In the morning session, okay, I leave it up to the ECs as far as how they want to run as far as a particular, this particular portion of the drill. This could be where, of course, run from home or have somebody go to a Red Cross center to operate from there. I leave it to the discretion of the ECs who are, you know, running with this, and allow them to participate and allow them to, you know, test their abilities as far as be able to communicate, you know, locally. And then with the information that we pass could go to Greg, but also to I have Larry Burns. I don't know if he's on here now, but he's the net control for Old Dominion Emergency Net, and so he will be doing the voice side. Now, the information as far as the frequencies and everything, we'll have it by this time next week. Like I said, this exercise is still in development, but we're hoping that this exercise will be a start of different ones like this, that we can test our capabilities and be able to communicate amongst ourselves in the Commonwealth. Let's see. I have Ed Gibbs on here. He wants to say a couple things. He's the PIC for Virginia section. So go ahead, Ed, please.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ed Gibbs, KW4GF. I'm the Virginia Section Public Information Coordinator. If you ever hear from me, I'm simply looking for information. Many of you already get the newsletter, and I distribute the newsletter within our ham community so you can find out what's going on. A lot of people like to get a lot of good ideas, and I'm a former public educator, and one of the ways I learned from was stealing from other teachers. Well, you do the same thing. You take your ideas from other people and make it work for your club. So if you think that I'm imposing on you by wanting information, yeah, I am. But there's too many of you who want to get the word out about the good things you're doing. I don't know how many of you were able, I worked with Greg to get a really, really good article in the ARESE letter about the WinLink Wednesday. And he told me that his numbers actually went up. And if you've noticed his numbers, they're skyrocketing. And they have skyrocketed since he started it. And that's the only way to get the information out, not only to the general public, but to within our ham community. So I'm here to serve you. And if I ask you for some information, say, no, I don't want to give it to you, that's fine. But answer me, that way I'll know that I can either go to you or to someone else. I'm going to ask John if he will find someone in this community, the ARES community, to become a PIO that will be an intermediary between John and me. There's several of you who are already working with me on the PIC roundtable, and I'm not going to ask you to do that. I've got to rely on you for other things. But if you want to do it, that's fine. I'd like to see a new face in there. And I'm having a PIO meeting, particularly on just Virginia PIO work and field day and other issues that we're having within the state next Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 8 o'clock at night, or both, on Zoom. And if you want to invite, you want an invite as a PIO. In other words, you're a PIO of a club, or you're going to be this ARES PIO. It's specific. It's not a general meeting. It's for people who are going to work with the public or work within the ham community at both, doing both things. And we're going to learn together how to do this. My hats off to people like Jim there, KK4IUH. He was one of the first to reach out to me with his fun club, the Powhatan Amateur Radio Club. And I'm having a lot of fun just watching them because they exemplify what ham radio is about. Fun and also good stuff. They had a good article in the Richmond Times-Dispatch on Winter Field Day. I don't know if you read the newsletter, but I wrote about them from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Actually, they wrote about it. 800 contacts for Winter Field Day for a little rural club. It's amazing. We want that information to get out into the public. So work with me, and I'll work with you. If you do not get the newsletter, feel free to email me at Kilo Whiskey 4 Golf Foxtrot, KW4GF at ARRL.net. KW4GF at ARRL.net, and I will send you the newsletter. I try to get it out every other week. And if you have news, either individual news, club news, anything you're doing, ham of the year, upgrading. I don't care what it is. New nets going on in Sterling Park. I want to know about that. Hand it to me. You never know if there's something out there. Like in the last issue, there was a great ARIS contact with Northern Virginia school kids. And that's going to get out. That actually got out to the school system, and it's going to get out into the community. So let's work together, and that's all I ask for you, to work together with me, and let's give the government a reason to keep us at the second largest bandwidth space outside of government frequencies, and let's keep that together, and let's never give up those frequencies together, and let's keep the public aware of what we're doing, the good stuff that you guys are doing. Okay, that's it, John. Thank you. Is there any questions before I give it back to John? All right, hope to hear from you.
Okay, thanks very much, Ed. The reason why I asked Ed to come here is that this exercise, we need to get the word out as far as what it's all about, who's participating, and so that everybody knows as an amateur in the Commonwealth of Virginia as far as what we're doing. So with that being said, Steve, do you have anything else you want to add as far as the exercise itself?
No, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm thus far. I apologize for any disorganization to date. I do want to correct one comment you made earlier, and that was having to do with going to Red Cross facilities. This is envisioned as a virtual event. It's to be run at home. It's to be compliant with the COVID-19 issues. And I'd like everyone to understand that Red Cross is really hammered right now, turning its entire response organization upside down to comply with the COVID-19 protocol. Red Cross has always set up shelters and large management operations and what have you, and it's not able to do that. The hurricane season is going to be quite interesting because we may have to go back into that kind of an operation. But the desire here is for you to operate out of home, use your imagination, have a good time. Hopefully there'll be enough leadership in this to be able to offer direction when it's needed. I don't know if we'll set up a helpline or something like that, but you're not to feel alone, left out, or disgusted with it. It's supposed to be a challenging exercise, an opportunity to interact with WinLink if you're not doing it already.
Matthew, if you're going to come, hurry up.
And to exercise with within your local area structure. So I thank you very much, and back to you.
Do we have a date for this exercise?
Okay, the date is going to be March 30th, which is a Saturday. It's about a week from this coming Saturday. Starts at 9 o'clock. And then I believe it, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, it goes to 2:30 or 3:30. As far as, excuse me, my son is trying to get my attention here.
It's okay. It's actually May 30th. And the planned hours are 8 to 4, but we're free to set the hours, whatever works for this organization. Greg's already pointed out that it's a poor time for HF in the afternoon. If morning is better, maybe we could do some WinLink activity at the front end of this. That will evolve, but it will be sometime within that 8 to 4 time frame.
Okay, thanks very much, Steve. We'll go ahead and start a question period here. I know there's maybe some questions that you got, so go ahead and let's go through that right now.
Hey, John?
Yes.
Let's see, I'm frozen here. Okay, here we go. John, if I can just bring one thing up, I want to thank John, W4AZT. He sent me a nice description about the Red Cross exercise, and it was the first one I got. Anytime you have information, send it on to me. I'll compile things. And like I said, I'm only here to help, but I wanted to thank John for that nice description he sent me.
Okay, thanks very much, Ed. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, this is Daryl Little with Roanoke County. I had a question for Greg Butler. Greg, were you going to create a WinLink tactical address to send to you, or like here in Roanoke County, I've created a tactical WinLink address that the field shelters are going to WinLink their messages to me, and then I'm going to forward them to the clearinghouse, which I guess is going to be you.
Thanks, Daryl. I hadn't really planned on doing it. I can, but you know, it's a Saturday, so it's not going to interfere with and confuse me with all the
Okay.
stuff I get on Wednesdays.
Right. Yeah, I created a tactical because I'm not going to be able to be in the Red Cross building where we have the radio room. So I'm going to have to simulate the EOC with a tactical call. So, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
might create one that indicates that I'm, you know, the divisional clearinghouse.
All right.
Something that'll fit in with the 12
With the
character limit.
exercise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that and fit in with the 12 character limit of a tactical.
Right. Exactly. All right. Thank you.
John,
Yeah,
got a
go ahead.
comment there. The Red Cross gentleman that Steve knows was running their meeting indicated that Red Cross is supposed to come out with a canned message, which will be distributed to people to use, although they could use their own message, or you can use this canned message for shelter wording, if you will. But just want to mention that for people to know what's on the table. It's supposed to be coming up within a couple of days. Go ahead.
Okay, Joe. Thank you very much for that information. As we go along, we'll be sending out information to this group here. We'll put it on a Google Doc, and then everybody can either pull it down, or what pieces of that that you need. We want to make this, like Steve said, fun, be interesting to see how the flow of the information, flow of the messages will go. And these can be just simple messages as far as I know many of you come up with some good ones. But basically, we would just want to keep it simple so that we get an idea how this message traffic will be flowing. So any other questions?
Hi, John. I have a question. This is Dave. Dave here.
Go ahead.
Um, if I could help, I'm not sure if you all have a, PIO for the Fairfax area, but if I can assist with that, and then you all let me know the outlets or where you want to get information out. I do have a news page on my nonprofit site that gets about 200,000 hits every month, and it has a very wide berth as far as visitors on the site. But so
Okay, excellent. Just get with Ed Gibbs on that, and you two could probably could work out something there. That'd be great. Any additional questions?
I've got a question for Greg Butler, KJ4 MPBEC, Hanover County. For the WinLink portion, do you want the forms to come to you in the, what is it, the 6409 or 9409 Red Cross form, Greg? Do you have a specific form, or you just want blank text format for the WinLink portion?
Thanks for the question. I think probably the most important thing is to follow the instructions that they disseminate to us. The 6409 is a commonly used form for Red Cross. They also have their own version of an ICS 213. There have been hints that one or both of those forms will be used during the exercise. And of course, you know, I was going to say, hopefully when they do disseminate the information, that will be clear. I know they're going to have some injects during the exercise. And so they may be sending me information and asking me to disseminate out to you. So somehow I hope they let me know who all is registered to participate so I can distribute this stuff. But yeah, just do your best with the information that they provide to us. And maybe next week when we have another call like this, we'll have some tighter information for you.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Now, there has been some talk around about a registration, and we're still getting information from the people that are organizing the exercise. what they wanting to do is track the number of stations and their location throughout the United States. You may be asked to, now this is not a registration for Red Cross or anything like this. They just want to have a way of showing how many stations are participating and show it to the ARRL and also the Red Cross as far as how many amateurs that are, participating in this exercise. So you may get a request as far as just type in your zip code and nothing, and that's all you need to enter. There's nothing as far as like registering for the Red Cross or registering for the ARS. This is just for statistics to show that how many people, how many stations are participating in this exercise. Any additional questions?
Yes, this is John Bourgeois, W4AZT. This was more directly directed to Greg Butler. Why doesn't he have something set up like he normally has for Wednesday WinLink, that we could send traffic, and that would give our people the ability to send and be able to acknowledge that that it was received. And because I tell you, a lot of the people in my area, they really didn't want to get involved that much, but we do have 6 that we are going to be sending out information within Roanoke City, Roanoke County, to cover our areas of operation. But there's others that would like to be involved, but it's just that they'd like to practice what is being preached about WinLink. And to me, that would be one great way to just reinforce that we have that capability and they are being received whenever they send something.
So John, if you don't mind, would you circle back to the actual question so I don't ramble in an answer?
Okay. If you would set up maybe like what you do on Wednesday WinLink, to where you're receiving all the information, and then you can compile it like you do on Thursday of how many QSOs you got with that information, and put that out the next day or in a couple of days, and that way people can see, hey, I did make it. I'm able to do this. So that would be a big, I don't know, pat on the back for some of these people that are on the borderline of either getting involved or not getting involved. And to me, that's one best way that you do trial runs.
Okay, thanks. Did somebody have something they wanted to say before I answered that?
Yeah, hey, Greg, what may be a good idea for that would be to set up a tactical address and just have everybody CC that tactical address. So that way, as John W4AZT said, he's down in Roanoke, and let's just assume that what would be close by? Well, anyhow, whatever Red Cross chapter or region your traffic would go to, you'd address it to that address, but then you just CC the tactical address that John could create or Greg could create, so that way there would be that metric that you're looking for on that as well. So instead of having to send it to two separate emails or try to send everything through one funnel, which is obviously not the correct way to go, because it goes through the chain of command, as it were. But to save time, it would just go to a tactical so that John or Greg could get that metric. Does that make sense?
So obviously I plan to follow whatever instructions they give me explicitly when I get the final version of the exercise plan. And John, that may include acknowledging your messages, right after I receive them. So you might get some pretty quick feedback. Even if they don't ask me to do that, I would do some sort of a roll up, not only to the Red Cross folks, but to everybody who participates through me that day. Like you said, maybe I can't do it that day. Maybe I can. But if I can't, I'll do some sort of summary back to all the folks that submitted stuff to me. So That's a good question, and I'll make sure I pay close attention to following up on that.
Did I answer your question, John?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or ideas or thoughts that want to share amongst the group here?
I have a question real quick. I apologize if you'd already answered it. I got in here late. Where will the data for these messages be injected from? I'm the operator. Who's giving me the data to send out?
Steve, you want to answer that question, please?
Thank you. The proper answer for me would be I have no idea. A better answer would be it's being discussed by an awful lot of people with a lot more experience than I have. And as Greg pointed out, there is a regular committee meeting and things are beginning to gel. So I would expect that would come down by our next meeting. If you have a preference or a particular need or want to suggest something, please do. If you'd like to pop it to me, I'm kx4ef@arl.net, and I'll do my best to respond. If you write to me and I don't respond, please do it again. I've been having some email issues, and I don't want to be unresponsive. This is an incredible group of people assembled here. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to be involved, but I wasn't sure where the message traffic information came from.
Add just a little bit to that.
Yeah, this is Daryl from Roanoke County. I can just piggyback on that. The next planning meeting is this Thursday. I've been in on the planning meetings from the beginning. We are supposed to get the content for the WinLink messages from the planning committee at the Red Cross level. And there'll be Red Cross 213 and 6409s that you can populate in WinLink and then send it.
Okay,
this
very
is
fine. Go ahead.
John Howard Waxman. Just wanted to find out how Skywarn might be able to participate in this. We're standing by and at least collectively, if not that, maybe individually I could participate to provide a Skywarn voice in the exercise.
That's an excellent idea. What I understand the exercise is to be a total blackout as far as the power grid in the United States. And so probably the National Weather Service offices may be affected as well, to have maybe weather reports come in is from different locations, and report back as far as what the weather is locally here in southeastern Virginia or northern Virginia or western part or something like that. So probably that kind of information would be, I would think, helpful. Steve, what do you think?
Sorry, I'm slow on the mute here. I think it's a fabulous idea, and I really appreciate it. Absolutely. In the event of a scenario like this, the whole world's going to go dark. And so having input, weather in particular, fed into this would be really, really important. Greg, go ahead. Excuse me. Yeah, Greg, go ahead. You take the mic.
Yeah, thanks. My first thought when Howard asked that question was, the planners for this exercise have said publicly, this is our first rodeo. So my first thought was, let's don't get it totally out of control. On the other hand, even if something from Skywarn is not requested, if, for example, you sent me something, I would forward it on, and then we can see how the leadership team deals with it. It might be, kind of an interesting ad hoc, impromptu injection. We'll see if we get a reaction from them. So if they don't specify something in the exercise and you want to do something like that, go for it, and I'll just react as best I can to whatever I get.
Okay.
That's a good idea, Howard.
This may be a place too far, but usually Alexandria, if they do anything with shelters, they'll usually have 3 shelters. And at that point, I guess we could set up portable radios on packet and do peer-to-peer to me as the EC. and I could forward traffic to wherever he needs to forward up the chain, and also disseminate back down through me, because even if the power goes out, there's 22 kilowatts of generator at my house, so I can simulate the power out.
Now we know where to get our power from. Excellent. Okay. Um,
Okay, for YCR, if you're going to have a total power outage, how are you going to get the internet to work?
Well, I've been asked to forward the messages that I receive from the field after converting the forms to a PDF. I've been asked to forward them through commercial email. So apparently that part is magic.
May I comment? Steve here. I would expect that the headquarters and district office level operations would have some sort of connectivity, perhaps through satellite. And so in the field office, you're really without resources. I think the communication protocol ought to be radio first, network second, and whatever you got to do third. There's a lot of discussion about telnet and don't use it and this and that and the other. And my feeling is that use it, but use it as a last resort and recognize that the use of it violates the situation of the exercise. And it's a point that needs to be understood, that things aren't working the way they ought to, and that resource may not be available in a real event. Thank you.
This is a good opportunity to sell Arden mesh network capability also.
It is. Thank you.
John,
yeah, go ahead.
to just add one point to that, Steve, if you remember from the last meeting, they said that, at least during the course of the meeting, at that point, that the local Red Cross facilities, there are a number around the country that are interested in participating in a very organized manner. And there are some that are just saying, go away. They don't even want to hear about it. So what they did say in that meeting was that if you have a local Red Cross chapter, which is active and is interested in participating, you can put together whatever kind of operation you so desire locally. But the bottom line is simply to get a message out of there. In this case, it'll be to Greg via voice or some digital method, preferably WinLink, or WinMore, in some fashion. The idea is that there will be individuals who will come in and sign in, if you will, send a message as an individual person without a club affiliation or an Aries affiliation, but they can send a message directly to Greg also. So you have the ability to be as sophisticated as you wish, only in a local, organized manner. And then you take everything from those messages to Greg, and then Greg sends them and bundles them, if you will, in some way to the coordinating system up in wherever it's going to be. And I think it's Connecticut is where it's going to end up, if you will. Back to John.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Also, we want to try voice. I know that we talk about WinLink, and the thrust of this exercise is WinLink, which is really good. We need to get people knowledgeable about WinLink, how to use it proficiently, and what have you. So this is a great opportunity with this exercise to do that. But also, too, that on the local level, that people that are like at the shelters, obviously, that there were not going to be WinLink capability. Not saying there can't be, but the thing is that we exercise the voice net as well. So we hope to have the Odin network set up to where that people can check in. And Larry also has WinLink, and he can pass that information through WinLink to Greg. So we want to exercise any possibility as far as media, as far as what mode of operation that we could do. After this exercise, we'll have another meeting to discuss, have an after action report and look at the different things that were used and as far as getting the information across the Commonwealth. So, any other questions?
Greg, gentlemen, comment.
I've got one comment here. I don't know if it's useful or not, but on the fun aspect of this, if I can get call signs, I could build a WinLink Wednesday type of map that would show participation more or less in real time. I just need to get a copy of the emails that are flowing into WinLink forwarded to me, or at least the call signs. We could create a WinLink type map showing that. I'm just throwing that out. It's, it's part of the fun.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right, Steve. We already know that people like to see their call sign on the map. So you might have to remind me to just send you a list of all the call signs that I got, similar to what I send you on Thursdays for WinLink. So we can do that, and you'll have a place to put it there, I think, on your QSL.net page. Also, two things about voice communication on the day of the exercise. Number one, again, we have to be sensitive to the type of information that the leadership of this, or the organizers of this exercise want to transmit. I think it's pretty well known that I'm probably WinLink's biggest cheerleader in Virginia, but I am also cautious to tell people, look, it's not a silver bullet. You got to decide the type of communication you're trying to handle and choose the right tool. And in some cases, WinLink is the right tool. Sometimes voice is the right tool. If, obviously, if the desired communication is something like a radiogram where the body of the message is 25 word groups or less, then voice is really good. If the 6409, which is a resource request, is asked to be sent, or the a staff report, a daily shelter report, or whatever, or the length of a message that you might get in an ICS 213, voice is probably not the best. It's going to be laborious, time intensive, and prone to errors, which is obviously one of the benefits of WinLink. The other thing that I wanted to bring up for voice for that weekend, I'm not a contester, but I understand that there's at least one sizable contest that weekend. I think it's a Feld L and possibly some other stuff. So the bands may be really, really crowded. I don't know what 3947 is going to look like that day, but just bear that in mind and be flexible. And of course, do what the exercise organizers want you to do. Again, that's going to be the thing I'm going to preach all the time is, as servants to a served agency, what I'm not going to do and what I'm going to encourage everybody else not to do is to have people go in there have amateurs go in there telling either a served agency or an exercise organization, trying to tell them how to do their business. Our job is to communicate in the best way we can for them. And that might mean staying really flexible, but in some cases, it's not a bad thing that we don't know much yet right now, because, if we got activated tomorrow to support some big organization, we wouldn't have information. We'd have to figure it out when we got there and be prepared to do it. So I think the best thing we can do is to show that we can respond appropriately and quickly, and maybe not do things the way we originally thought we would. And I'll shut up for a while.
Go ahead.
Since you brought up a good point, Greg, you have CW contest that weekend. The lower portions are going to be slammed. That's going to affect WinLink a lot. And also, my question is it's going to turn out to be like morning session of WinLink Wednesday when we can't get in because it's so crowded and stepping on each other. Maybe probably one of the operators. I have to keep that in mind because we're newbies. We're still learning this. Tim and I are doing it. We're trying to get other people in there so we want to be good leaders, but if we can't get in, it doesn't help.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jason, your audio was really broken at my side. I did hear CW contest and that the lower frequencies are going to be jammed. Again, at this point, I'm not planning to do a HF WinLink peer-to-peer session, so I will probably be just checking with my local VHF gateway as often as necessary. So just bear that in mind if you guys, whatever you guys want to try to do that may be beyond the bare minimums of what the exercise organizers are going to ask of us. And again, just be flexible and ready to decide that maybe somebody else's idea is better than the one that you came into the week with.
We'll get David involved.
I have a comment here, Steve. From my understanding, we all have an obligation to be good citizens. It's airspace is a shared resource. It would be really bad for an exercise like this to come in and hammer an organized, established contest, for example, or to hog a repeater all day long without providing opportunity for regular amateur radio use in the middle of that. And I would just hope that if we run into congestion issues, make a note of it, don't contribute to it, and we'll understand that that's a congestion issue that would happen. In a real disaster, not only would we have the organized folks trying to get through their critical information, but basically anyone with a radio in a family crisis is going to be trying to do the same thing. And amateurs are, I think, very good about showing each other courtesy, but I think it would be very helpful for an organization like Red Cross to understand that you can break the system if you push it hard enough and know how far to go in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, very good point, Steve. Okay, we're coming up on the hour. Kind of want to wind this down unless we have anything.
This is Brendan. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead, Brendan.
So, trying to think of how to ask this question properly. Regarding registration for participation in the event, I've been working with my EM here in Fairfax County and his staff, and they are still partially activated for this COVID-19 pandemic, and they're not letting us utilize our radio rooms currently because we're still at the 200 plus cases a day thing up here in Fairfax County. I'm sure it's very different in the rural areas of Virginia. So we're going to approach this exercise sort of as a simulated exercise, meaning we're going to work from home as individuals and not go to our shelters because we're not being allowed to be at those shelters according to our emergency management contacts. So for registration, if I have 18 people that want to participate, instead of me registering as Fairfax County Aries and us operating from 1, 2, or 3 different locations, any advice on how to register and handle individuals representing our organization as opposed to 1 or 2 stations doing it?
Can I comment on that, John?
Yes, go ahead, please.
All right, Brandon, what I did for the Hanover County group was I created us a slot in Aries Connect, and I probably did it wrong. That way I can track our members who are participating, and then I will pass that along to the higher ups, which they have access to in Aries Connect. And then my plan is to pass that on to whoever participates to John, so he knows also from Hanover County team-wise who participated. And we planned on running from home and also providing, because this will be our first exercise as a team for the county, doing a Zoom session in the background so we could, visually assist the other folks that are new to Aries and new to an event like this. So we've got multiple avenues to be able to help folks out. We're going to use the repeater if we can, and which 146.88 we'll be using. And we're also going to try Simplex to see how far we can reach out on Simplex. Just a thought.
Cool, thanks.
And so let me just add to. So if, for example, Brendan wants to participate, he signs up in Aries Connect, which I assume you have an event there for him to sign up to. That information goes up to the Red Cross leadership, and if the information that the field stations need to send gets disseminated directly to those from the Red Cross to them, we want to make sure that Red Cross knows to send something to Brendan, for example, or if they want to disseminate stuff through a divisional clearinghouse, me, for example, I'll need a list of people that I need to send things to. So I'm not sure. I don't know if Steve's got that answer, but maybe we'll find that out Thursday in the call.
I have a comment on that. It looks like I'm the Virginia Red Cross contact, and as I said before, I've had some email problems recently, which really upset me because I don't have access to people that have registered already. I will make every effort to see that the people that sign up for this are on a copy list and know what is going on with it. And there's some good material out there. There's some planning material on a Google Drive. If it's okay to open that up to everyone, I'd love to do that. If not, I can peel off some pieces of it that are more relevant to your situation and make that available. If for some reason we get disconnected, you don't hear from me and you feel like you should have, if you'd work up through your organization, or if not, reach out to me directly, I'd appreciate it. Please include who you are and what your reporting structure is, so I don't go banging all through the whole organization, stepping on toes. I have no desire to do that. Thank you.
Okay, that was a good point as far as having a Zoom meeting and helping newbies, so to speak, to participate in the drill. So that's an excellent idea, Jim. Okay, well, like I said, we'll have another meeting probably about this time. I hope this at 7 o'clock is good for everybody. I know there's other meetings going on, so I'll try not to interfere with those if I can.
Hey, John, if I can say one more word before we go.
Go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, John. I've interrupted John for a decade now, so don't be offended by it, gentlemen. Every one of you's got a soapbox. Every single one of you. First time Hanover County. I love rural counties. I want to hear from your county about how this went. Every one of you can send me. I'm not worried about how well you write it. We're going to compile it. And as far as I'm concerned, I was an elementary school language arts teacher. That means I taught 10-year-olds writing. I guarantee you your writing's better than theirs. So just send it to me. Everyone's got a story, and we got to get these stories out to show that we are a viable, energetic, and creative, like Greg put out there, a creative group that can solve communication problems when as we know what Greg Fugit said, when everything else fails. So send me, I don't care if it's 2 sentences. Just tell me what you got and where you had it from and who you are. That's all I need. And those of you, I'm seeing W4AZT, you got the Roanoke Times out there. We got the Richmond Times-Dispatch. We've got newspapers everywhere and internet news sources. Send them out. And if you don't know how to do it, come up to the PIO level so you can learn how to do it. And I will work with you and train with someone in your group if it's not you, because you got enough on your plate. I will train them. You just got to get them to me. And we will get the word out about how good and creative and energetic we are as ham radio operators. You got to know that all I'm hearing from the Roanoke Division leadership, and Joe will confirm that we are coming alive. And we are now very, very viable, where people didn't even know we existed. So just please do that for me. Just take a few minutes during the exercise. Let me know, and after the exercise, let me know how it went for you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ed. I would like to right now, unless there's any other questions, go ahead, wind this up. And if you have any questions, please email me at sec.arsva@gmail.com. And what I'd like to also, for those ECs that have accounts on Areas Connect, to create your own event on there so that people can sign up on that. and we can start tracking as far as the number of individuals participating in this drill here. Now, keep in mind, we talked about the registration. Now, the Red Cross is going to look for registration as far as by zip code of each individual operator. So we'll get more information as time goes on. We'll get more information on that and pass it on. And also, we'll be setting up a Google Drive to put the documents out there so that you can extract those, to help you set up your local simulated emergency test. I want to thank everybody who came out here. We had a lot of participants. We got about 70 people on here, and that's a great showing. And I hope to continue these kind of meetings that we can share ideas and get points across and help develop the program here a lot better. And it's you guys that help do this. It's not me, it's you guys. So, but anyway, I'd like to go ahead and sign off unless anybody have anything they want to interject or add to the discussion here.
Hey, John, I'd like to thank you for a very well communicated session here. And this is my first sort of big interaction with the ham groups. And thank you for your professionalism and being inclusive with everyone. Great job.
Okay, my head's gonna swell here in just a minute. No, but this is
John, question.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Question, go ahead.
Repeat the email for. Repeat the email, please. SEC at.
It's SEC period ARESVA at gmail.com. SEC dot ARESVA at gmail.com.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. I hope you are taking care of yourselves and your family with this pandemic going on. So be careful out there. And Jack Smith, if you're still there, go ahead and take over as far as signing off this Zoom meeting. Again, everybody, thank you so much for coming out and sharing your ideas.
Everyone, thank you very much for your participation, and look forward to seeing you next time. If you're an Aries DEC or ASEC that needs to have a meeting and does not have a professional account, I bought this one specifically for that purpose, to use for our group. Just contact me. Of course, I have to sit there while you're doing it, but it's no big deal. I can always bring it up and go eat dinner or something and let you use it. So just please let me know. You can contact me at Kilo Echo 4 Lima Whiskey Tango at gmail.com or Kilo Echo 4 Lima Whiskey Tango at Alpha Romeo Romeo Lima November Echo Tango. And like I said, I'll be happy to try to arrange that with you. I have work-related conferences that come up from time to time, so that may be a little bit of a hindrance, but I can usually actually work that out because most of the time those are on Adobe Connect, so it's not too big of an issue. Anyway, thank you. And this session is being recorded, and it'll take me a couple of days to get it straightened up and sent out, and it'll be available. Again, if you need it, just wait until about a week before you ask me for it so I don't lose it in my email. All right, thank you very much.
Before we go, did Howard, our DEC in District 7, check in?
Howard, are you online with us?
Okay, I'll see about him. Red Cross, as the way they're organized, they cover most of our district as one entity. So one way I can get him involved if he's going to play. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Everybody have a nice evening. Take care.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Jack. All right.
73s. Have a good night.
7-3 all.